Cup's second season here on AO Esports. My name is Justin, aka Cyberwaste, and with me casting this first semi-final is Mr. Parodius. How do you do?
Doing fantastic, Cyberwaste. It's great to be here. It's great to be back for what is shaping up to be an exciting semi-finals for the Rise Up Invitational.
Yes, indeed. And we have two teams that are very much pegged, at least behind the scenes, to be front runners for the second season, being Emergency and LAX1. We'll run you through them quickly, and then we'll run you through them in greater detail when we get to game. We have Zephyr, Moody, Special Kid, Virginia, Exerst, and Mini on the side of Emergency, and on the side of LAX1, we have Zupa, Frosty Heart, Jarmez, JCap, Kia, and Shy. And now that we have our combatants, we'll quickly run through our 5-map set. This is a first to 3. So basically, you put a 3 next to your name, you are through to the finals. And for our opening map, we will go to Lijiang Tower. For our second one, we have the Assault Discipline, that being Temple of Anubis, then Dorado as our third, Numbani as our fourth map, and as our fifth and final map, should we require it, we will go to Nepal.
Yeah, absolutely. And if any of those maps do end in a draw, we will be moving on as well. So should we make it to the end of those 5-match series and we still have an even scoreline, unlikely though that may be, we will be going to a tiebreaker on Route 66 as well. But that is a unlikely situation very much in the future at this stage, and we'll be heading into Lijiang Tower shortly to see how these two teams face it off here in control.
And we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I believe all the readies have been exchanged, and they just have to wait for us to do.
Absolutely. So we'll be heading in shortly, and it's going to be interesting to see what we see from these teams on Lijiang Tower. Obviously, we are in a bit of a changing and developing meta at the moment. Goats is still very much a thing, but at the same time, there are now a lot of alternative compositions that teams have been running. It's going to be interesting to see if any of these teams have been drilling a newer style, have been making use of the Baptiste, or if we are just going to be seeing teams return to what they've known and practiced for quite some time. It's going to be very interesting to see just how things get shaken up here.
Yeah, perhaps with the way that things are, and with how much is on the line, given you're in the semi-finals of a tournament, there might not be as much experimentation as opposed to the group stage. You might just be sticking to what you know, but we have, at least in the higher echelons of Overwatch, we've been seeing Baptiste really hitting his stride and becoming integral parts of certain compositions, so we might see that on certain maps. But on a place like Night Market, I think we'll see plenty of the tried and true triple setup. Actually, triple as the name makes me hungry, because triple cheeseburger. And I really hope Virginia sticks with this. He's currently hovering over the wrecking ball, and
yeah,
I've seen his plays since the hero's been released, and he's definitely a menace.
Absolutely, and if we look at the rest of that composition, they may well be sticking with that. That sort of multi-DPS comp with one support, quad DPS for the Wrecking Ball, that is absolutely a viable composition designed to just scatter the enemy composition, pick it apart from multiple directions. It does look like they are leaving spawn with this one. This is going to be very exciting to see. Let's see if the members of Emergency Esports can pull off this challenging composition to execute.
Having the initial rollout take place.
Yeah, losing Virginia early is not a
There is a big trade, and
res.
Special. You definitely do not want that in this composition. And LAX are commandeering the point, and only really go their way off note is ejecting. But LAX1 are on the board first and looking to real.
Yeah, the fight looked like it started out well for Emergency Esports, despite the early kill onto Virginia. The res came through, they got a couple of early frags, but unfortunately LAX able to really bounce back through and clean up the rest of that fight. Just they have so much more point pressure with this tanky composition. You really do need to try and take control of the point first. If you're going to run that quad DPS, you need to deny them the space. You can't let them just brawl onto that key ground. You have to engage on them before they can get there. And unfortunately, the members of Emergency Esports not quite able to do that. Now, unfortunately, there has been a brief DC as well, which is also going to work against the members of Emergency Esports. They will be losing some ultimate charge there, although they may be swapping this composition shortly anyways, because trying to take this point with that against the GOATS composition that they're running against on the side of LAX could be very difficult.
If there were any opportune time to change Mini's disconnect, as unfortunate as that would be, this could be the best time to really wipe the board clean and just basically reset everything. So the pause has come off, and she is back in the server, and we are back underway. And Mini is decided to go with the Pharaoh, which is really interesting. And Exertus has actually gotten rid of Jabez, and that is a big get. It looks like Emergency are going to stick with this one more go.
Yeah, I mean, the Pharaoh is a good version of this against this tank-heavy lineup. That's a great pile-in by... Fight breaking through underway here. The kills are coming through very much in favor of Emergency Esports here. A couple of key opening kills and a great pile entry kill from Virginia, stopping up the middle of Mooney's Dragon Strike coming through and getting that Brigadier pick. Absolutely crucial there. And they managed to flip the point at 46%. They've got a long way to go though. And now we've got some rockets raining down, just putting a lot of pressure onto the members of LAX as they try to rotate through. Virginia has been knocked off the edge, but not before getting Frosty Heart as well, but that kill onto Mooney could be dangerous. The grab is thrown out, does manage to pick up Zephyr, so that is something at least. But they're running out of members here, the members of Emergency Esports. It's only a matter of time until LAX are able to get this one through, especially with players now returning from spawn as well. Those early kills now working against the members of Emergency Esports. And the point at this stage is looking to be flipped 52% as it swaps over, and we will be having the percentage winding up now. And another DC that is super unfortunate as Mini is once again disconnected from the game. So too has my co-caster Cyberways, and he will be back as soon as he's able, but he's also having some connection difficulties of his own. We do unfortunately live in Australia, and that is just the nature of the beast sometimes. Either way, we will just, as I said, be having a brief pause here. The point has just been flipped. Unfortunately, all of that Pharaoh ultimate that had been built up is going to be gone, but at the same time, they do have Zephyr's EMP. Combine that with the Dragon Strike, the Minefield. They've got tools. At the same time, from their opponents, they've had to swap off the Reinhardt to deal with this comp. They've gone over to the Winston. So they've really only got their support ultimates plus the Diva Bomb. Now, the Diva Bomb can be very dangerous against this multi-DPS composition. You don't have a traditional main tank that is able to block out that Diva Bomb, so everyone does need to be very careful of their positioning. At the same time, there's still plenty of time, and they're all very high mobility heroes. It's definitely still very easy to get away from that Diva Bomb if it's just thrown out randomly. So it's going to be interesting to see if we do see Zephyr come back in huge with an EMP. Because definitely the door is open there for a quick retake, but it's going to come down to the support play of Jamez or Kia. One of them needs to ensure they don't get caught in that EMP so they can protect their team with a powerful defensive support ultimate. That's the best step in that upcoming fight.
Is still cloaked it at the ready with the EMP two-handed. Could be extremely juicy if it's timed right. Right behind the entire enemy team and on the point proper. Just waiting for the right time to strike. Big priority will be the Zenyatta, and Ikea did not get got, but did let the EMP go anyway. There was 4 of them caught up in it. And Emergency are really wanting to capitalize on this, and it looks like it's pretty much a mutual change. And it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, good play there from Kia, staying out of the range of the EMP, was able to get in with the trance, keep everyone alive. Now the sound barrier being connected as well. They've lost J-Caps, but they've still got control of this point. Here comes Virginia with the slam.
This is not your
The res onto Exerst, but Virginia is down as well. Kia's been picked up, Tac Visor now coming in, but unfortunately the Diva is there just to snuff it out. Zupa really denying a lot of the pressure from that, and that's going to be the 100% there. Unfortunately, the members of Emergency Esports just unable to make their way onto the point in time. A really good point pressure and control from LAX to keep that one under control, and we will be moving over to Gardens
all
next.
systems checked out. Ready
One
for combat maneuvers.
One kill.
So, I mean, well played so far from what we've seen of Emergency Esports. It is a difficult composition to play, and they haven't really been doing too badly at it. Just some unfortunate DCs really putting them behind in the ultimate economy. Just unfortunately, really has gone a long way, and LAX really just playing to the win conditions of their comp. They're getting the space, they're not giving it up. But now we are going to see if this can continue here. There's a lot of early rockets being thrown down by Mini, but that early kill onto Virginia is not good. And there goes Exerst and Mooney as well. That is a disastrous opening. Frosty Heart well fed from that opening exchange.
Yeah, Frosty is going to be very well warm and very well fed, as you did say. And getting 3 frags, and then sadly wanted to get on a frag on a Zephyr, but only decided to sleep with the fishes. But regardless of that, LAX will commandeer the point first and start off just as strong. Just keeping the momentum going.
Yeah, Exerst and Mooney building towards their ultimates. That early kill onto Zupa's mech is definitely a window there. That Diva can provide a lot of relief from this Pharah with her gone. It's really an opportunity for Minnie to get in with those rockets, see what she can do. But so far, oh, there it is. There's the kill on the Shy. There's the opening frag, and there goes here as well. This is the opening.
They've definitely gotten a part of the way there. They just have to finish the rest of it off. Frosty Heart did get hacked though, and it could be having good ramifications for the opposition. Mini, let's go with the barrage. Does get one, but it looks like LAX is still holding strong and bleeding the clock for a little while longer. Exerst and Virginia will get the party gifts, and Emergency will turn the point back and begin to commandeer for themselves.
Absolutely, 44% on the clock, and now we do have Emergency in control here. But can they keep it? This map is a bit easier than Night Market, providing that sort of long distance threat before people can get through. They are going to be exposed to Pharah rockets no matter how the entry is. So this is going to be their best bet. They do need to try and get those entry frags though.
Special Kid is the Mercy, keeping a watchful eye on everyone. Jarvis did get hacked and eventually destroyed, so that is the sound barrier off the table. Big EMP from Zephyr. Did actually get a couple, but that flip! That is definitely not something that Emergency could have wanted, and this has really bad ramifications.
Absolutely, the res comes through onto Mini, but now they are fighting into a point. They don't hold Virginia down again is not a good sign. They don't have the point presence that Wrecking Ball can give them. They can't afford to give up the point like that. That really does feel like a misplay here.
A bad misplay, and it could have a very bad ripple effect. They might have effectively locked themselves out for at least one more fight, and especially with Zephyr getting staggered out like that, Emergency are going to have to wait for a little while longer until their squad is fully bolstered once again.
And that makes it last fight. They do not have the spare time now. This is their best and only chance, and they're still going to be running this multi-DPS comp into it. They don't have a lot of ultimates online either. It really is going to be all on Mini's Rocket Barrage and Mooney's Tac Visor to get this one done.
And Virginia's put in the call to engage. There goes the Tac Visor from Mooney. Basically being a threat, not being all that much else. Mini did get taken out by Frosty Heart. Virginia has swung and struck out Kia. There goes the minefield to keep the opposition at bay, and Special Kid has entered Valkyrie to keep everybody topped up, and it looks like finally the point's been broken and Emergency is slowly making their way back in. Exerst did use the Dragon Strike and claimed the bounty, which is good enough for them. And aside from that frag onto Virginia, Emergency can finally get back to winning ways, but it's going to be a really uphill climb for them.
Yeah, absolutely. At 99%, they need to keep hold of this point. They cannot drop it again. They cannot allow Lax to get on this point and flip it for free in a fight that they were otherwise not winning. So they definitely need to be a bit more mindful of their positioning there. They've got the tools to stall out the point. They need to keep people on it.
They do need to keep the power. Big misplay of the Graviton Surge. A big EMP in return, which basically lights out for LAX. And basically this push is done for LAX, and Emergency will live to fight.
Absolutely, that EMP was absolutely huge, and it was actually surprising that there was no real follow-through. We saw several people of LAX on low health on that bridge, and many of them actually managed to back away, which just, unfortunately, no one in position to follow through on that. Here comes the Diva Mom over the top. Special Kid's in trouble, but do manage to dodge it out.
Got right behind the wall. The wall's good cover. Always make note of that. Well, just off of the back of it, LAX slowly running out of time. They're in one fight territory now. This entire point of Gardeners turned right on its head compared to what we saw about 2.5 minutes ago.
Yeah, big play from Virginia. They're getting a double kill off knocking off people off the bridge. Here comes the Dragon Strike, just bringing out the trans. This is going to be the decisive last fight.
Yep, indeed. It looked like the Wrecking Ball of JCap did go down to the pit, but it looks like it's held on. There's a sound barrier on the side of LAX to keep everybody up and Adam. Special Kid's out of the fight though. That will make things really difficult for the side of Emergency. It'll be down to the DPS to lay out the damage, but the presence is now on the point next to LAX. The point did tip and could not get the touch. Poor Jack Morrison. He falls to his death, and LAX have taken the tower.
Yeah, it's really nicely played there by LAX. They really were playing the point, playing the objective. Members of Emergency Esports favoring there to keep themselves alive rather than keeping control of the point. And in the end, it doesn't work out for them. We do, obviously, I mean, if you can get away on the Wrecking Ball, get healed up and come back in, you can definitely keep the fight going longer, and it might be the right play. But if no one's there to keep the point pressure up while you're doing that, all you really do is give up the point for free. So it's hard because, especially when you are 1v5 as a Wrecking Ball, your odds of survival aren't great, but at the same time, getting out, staying alive, and having the match end against you, I don't know if it's worthwhile. I think sometimes you just have to risk it. But it might just come down to communications. If the team needs to sort of communicate if there is anyone who can take over on point duties for you, and if that's not happening, it can be hard to know if it's safe to leave or not. So obviously in those scrambling fights, it's a difficult call to make. Can't fault them on that, but this time does not pay off for Emergency Esports. And now we'll be heading over next to Temple of Anubis.
An Emergency, because they did lose that, they get the choice of side, whether they choose to attack first or defend first. And looks like we will be seeing Emergency on defense. I actually do want to go back to that, the stall tactics with more mobile heroes, like you were mentioning with the Wrecking Ball. Although, how do you feel about when it's basically a situation where you just have to walk in single file as an entire squad? Is that a worthwhile cause because you might get the entire team back?
I mean, I've seen it happen. That's the thing. We've seen some very strange things at times. I've seen a team whose entire defensive strategy on what's that map? I can't actually think of the map name now. One of the payload maps where all they did was trickle in single file deliberately for an entire hold until we got to the very end of point A, and that was the only time they actually committed to the payload. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but it worked for them. I don't know how or why, but it worked for them. So I've seen some weird things from time to time.
That wouldn't happen to be Rialto, would it?
Yes, it was on
That
Rialto.
might be the only map that I can immediately think of where that's actually possible.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing, but
that's wild. But hey, if it works, it works. You got to tip your cap to them.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think it wouldn't. You'd think that trickling in 1v6 over and over, you'd die too quickly. But no, they made it work. I don't know how. I don't know why. But it worked for them. And then when they came together to actually go for their decisive hold at the end of the A, they won the fight. And that was it. It was one team fight for the entire 4 minutes. It was the weirdest thing I've ever watched.
Well, it's all about making memories in competitive video games, and Overwatch is no exception. Now we move on to Temple of Anubis. LAX are your attackers. They are the leaders of the series as well. They are 1-0 up after the win on Lijiang Tower. We're just about to go into the assembly phase. And I've actually really taken a liking to Temple of Anubis with the new compositions and the new hero that's actually been entering into the fray. Because of Baptiste and his jump ability, it's made defensive compositions a lot more possible because basically there's someone else that can join, say, a Widow that's looking over the main gate on defense because of Baptiste's jump.
Yeah, absolutely, and his immortality field as well really opens up a number of different possibilities in that sort of bunker comp playstyle. Really does add an extra thing that has to be dealt with on the part of the attackers, which has been why we've seen such a resurgence of this style of comp. And again, it looks like that is what we're going to be seeing here from the members of Emergency Esports. They are setting up the Bastion bunker. As I say that, another DC.
The crucial piece, it was Minnie as Baptiste. She has sadly disappeared. And the technology is a fickle thing, Peronius, I can definitely say that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll we're just going to be awaiting now. There's going to be a full reboot of the PC to try and alleviate some of these problems. It does seem like, unfortunately, there were some heroes firing at the time of the pause, so some people have been caught in the crossfire. And as a result of that, there is a bit of altercation in the game chat, unfortunately, but just waiting to see. Yeah, we'll just be waiting on this to see how it gets resolved. I think we probably will be restarting the map, but yes, we will be restarting Anubis when we get everyone back in momentarily.
And hopefully the issues will be resolved and everything will move along smoothly.
But yeah, it's definitely been interesting to see the rise and the return of the bunker compositions, especially on assaults. Seeing a lot more Orisa being played and teams building that bunker with the extra tools that Baptiste brings to the party.
Perhaps it's one of the few things that actually makes 2CP is much reviled by some. Maybe it's made things a little bit different and something to really keep an eye on. And we'll now see, because there's the initiation period, and we'll see which strategy everyone will be signed to elect.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that we have finally got everyone back in, we will once again be setting up shortly, and we'll take our second run at Anubis here as we get ourselves ready for another go at this assault map mode. Everyone's favorite map mode, I'm sure.
Yeah, I could hear many a cheer going. Maybe we will see the old bunker comp, and I'll really be curious to see how Exerce and Mooney actually work in a tandem. And really keep it. This is what the comp is best at, is just keeping everybody in an arm's reach.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be it's set up to be difficult to engage onto, and the sort of threat that you can't ignore. And so we will be seeing that from the members here of Emergency Esports. It's going to be on LAX to find a way to get around, through, or otherwise disrupt this defensive position so that they can make their way through here. It's going to be difficult, but they do have some of the pieces for it. Between Zupa's Genji and Shy on the Sombra. Oh, that early kill on the Jarmez though. That is going to spell a dead push here.
Oh, yep. Once you lose your healer, and especially your core healer, that's pretty much the plug pulled on it. You see everybody on the side of LAX just basically retreating back to the gate, except for JCap. JCap's a little further forward and might try to dive on it. And the side of emergency at the blue, they are holding extremely strong for now, and just trying to keep, as I did mention, keep the opposition at an arm's reach with their constant movement. And look at Moody just railing Frosty Heart, just cutting the ape in half, and that'll force Chavez to put the Resurrect out on the field. And doesn't look like all that much will be accomplished from that Resurrection, but Exerst did go down. So that's a big frag. Maybe that could be the start of a trickle effect.
Yeah, losing Exerst does mean they're sort of all in on the one position, and they are now battled into a corner. And here comes the Dragon Blade. Zupa bringing out the blade, sliced and dice. That is 3, that is 4 people cut through. There's the pickup on Special Kid as well, and Zupa's Dragon Blade gets them point A.
And commanding too. That's the problem with those types of compositions, because a lot of the members are bundled together, and if that gets broken, it gets absolutely shattered, and there's not much you could really do about it. So it looks like we are having almost a full-blown change of the guard. Configuration tank for Mooney is still on deck though, so we will hear the siren sound very shortly, I'm sure. Chavez has been hacked as well, preventing the Valkyrie for a little while, but now Valkyrie is online for the side of LAX, and there he goes.
Yeah, absolutely. The players, well, they're using up the defensive orders. There's the EMP in. Here comes the engage. And
Mooney did end up getting one with the tank form, but it was not really all that much. And there goes the self-destruct to try and keep the defenders of emergency at bay. Virginia has quite literally jumped at the opportunity, and Jarmez is off of the table. And emergency are basically saying, no, sorry, the clinic's closed. You're gonna have to go back and try again. So they're gonna hold Trump for now, but 5 minutes for Proteus.
Yeah, they've got a long time on the clock, but a really nice counter EMP from Exerst shuts down that push. And Mooney now swapping over onto the Torbjorn. They are going to be going for a slightly more mobile version of this defense, while still getting the pressure that a static position can put down as well. As long as Exerst is able to maintain territorial control on this Sombra, it's going to be a lot harder for Shy to really get things done. Defensive Sombra does have a big advantage there, so if Exerst continues to keep it up, as I say that is the classic caster curse. Frosty Heart pins Exerst into the wall, and this is an opening.
That's one way you can do it. You can do it like the NHL, put him into the boards. There goes the Dragon Blade from Zupa. Does claim 1, but it is mini, so that is a high value target. And Zupa gets hacked for his troubles and then properly deleted. Zephyr has claimed a pair. An emergency, despite having that earlier scare, are hanging on for now.
Yeah, the tick not quite given up, so that's gotta hurt. A lot of resources being invested there for nothing. We are going to be seeing a compositional swap now from the attackers. LAX moving over to the Rhine-based composition. It looks like it will be almost the classic 3-3. They are going to keep Shy on the Sombra, but they're moving over to the triple tank. No, as I say that, Shy is moving over to the Brig. They're going over to the classic goats, OG goats if you will, with the Moira, and trying to use that. We have seen, however, from the defenders, Mooney swap over to the May. A good May wall can really cause a lot of problems with this composition.
And a good wall and an EMP, and right in the back lines, preventing the remake from Zephyr, I believe, and that is a rough time. They're all packed in like sardines, and despite there not being any actual frags given up, that is just a real shun into the plans. And there goes the Primal Rage from Virginia, smacking them about with his red right hand. And even if Virginia does not claim any frags here, it's just going to be a big disruption.
So Frosty out now coming in with a shatter, doesn't manage to hit anyone with it, and that's a nice Maywall to really split up this push. Here being down means they're running out of tools. James has gone down as well, and this is going to be the cleanup as well. The defenders once again holding strong despite that failure to capitalize on that early EMP. They've managed to hold out once again, and they've bled a lot of time off the clock in the process as well. So this is looking really good for the defenders.
Look at this stagger too. Oh dear, Zupa just got focused down and demolished. Didn't even get a chance to get back in a mech. Now LAX, because of that, they're going to have to wait at least another 15 to 20 seconds, maybe even longer, before they can even have another go. Emergency are really playing to the clock, really making the opposition pay.
Absolutely, and look at the ultimate economy as well. Not only are they bleeding a lot of time off the clock, but they have been bleeding resources out of the attackers. It's another huge EMP, and look at that follow through. Much better than last time.
Like clockwork. That's what you want in an emergency room and in a squad like emergency is. You need efficiency and basically just running through your drills, and that's exactly what took place. That was, like I said, it was like a machine in tip-top shape. And now LAX really are running out of time to try and solve the queue. There's the rally from Shy. We'll expect that from them any moment now, I'm sure. But Super actually got hacked by Xerxes, who was decided to duck around the back lines. And there is the rally, and that will be the cue to go for LAX.
Zupa getting frozen on the high ground and hacked out as well. That Diva is getting absolutely hunted by Xerxes, who's trying to farm up another EMP as quick as they can as well. And already another fight looking very good for the defenders, looking at those early frags.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get a high value target. There's no one that's really high value, and oh, Frosty hard put between a wall and a Tesla cannon, not a rock in a hard place. That was just absolutely clinical by the side of emergency, and even that even without getting fragged, just the threat of bringing their opposition low is really playing into the strengths of emergency, and they are loaded, pretty much loaded for bear. Look at there's 4 of the 6 up for emergency. There is almost a full war chest for the side of, oh my goodness, big EMP and the big follow-up with Kia and Frosty Hart. That's 2 off the table, and the rest cleaned up by emergency, and oh, they're really coming to their element. Now, I don't think LAX will even be able to get another push.
They may not be able to get on there. They have to contend with Mooney's May ultimate as well. That Blizzard denying the space there should be able to be used to make sure that no one can even get on the point. Yeah, there goes the Desperation Shatter. They know they can't make it, and they are out of time there. Very well executed defense there from the part of Emergency Esports. They absolutely shut down every push, and just an incredibly well executed 1-2 punch with that Diva Bomb into EMP as well. Just really nicely played.
And as we said, it was all about efficiency, and that's exactly what Emergency Esports put on. They, from bell to bell on the second point, they played pretty much to perfection, to not even give up a third. That should be noted. They only came close, I believe, once to giving up a third of the point. So they have a clear win condition. Exactly.
They came very close to giving up that tick, but didn't quite, which means that as long as that first point is captured, that is going to be all she wrote in terms of victory on the cards. They need to fully hold point A to get the win. If they're unable to do so, then they're going to be playing for a draw at best. So definitely,
that's definitely not what they want.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on the table here.
Let's see. It looks like the far more mobile goes composition, but Frosty Heart's very much noted of the win.
Yeah, so they are going to be going for the flying goats, if you will, a much more aggressive defense than the what we saw out of Emergency Esports. They're going to be looking to catch the attackers before they can get set up. The exerts there on the Widow is going to be able to provide a lot of pressure onto the healers. Everyone already having to duck behind sightlines because they just don't really have anything that can go and challenge it, sort of sending some tanks onto it.
James got hacked and absolutely focused on and destroyed, so that the red side of LAX will be playing a person down and slowly being picked apart by Emergency. And well, pretty much as quick in order as the previous round, there was that entire defense shattered by Emergency. They're keeping their clinical style going.
Couple of late kills on by James rather, just to get some extra ultimate charge. But at this point, it's only a matter of time, and with that, there will be any hope of getting the cap through. Now they're playing for a draw at best, having to hold for almost 7 minutes without giving up a single tick. Not an enviable position to be in.
Definitely not. And if this snowball is as efficient as some of them can be, it's going to be basically a blizzard of pain pulled out by Emergency. It's looking like it might come to fruition.
Ooh,
there is one. The big
Zephyr.
bang from Zephyr does claim a pair. Their high value ones at that. Frosty Heart is now having it all on his broad, angry shoulders to try and keep the side of Emergency from tying up the series. And he might have bought just enough time for the comrades to come through and steady the ship. They're coming oh so close on the side of Emergency, but it is not to be. LAX, they can relax for now. They have stabilized on defense, but look at the time. It's even more compared to before.
Absolutely, they've still got another 6 minutes of a clock to burn through, so they may be able to get a brief respite, but certainly not time to relax here on this defense. And the thing is, they're not running a Sombra-based defense as well, so they don't have any big fight-winning tools that they'll be able to rotate through regularly. It's going to come down to just skilled play and good coordination. There's the grab from JK.
And a big bomb that might, in hindsight, that might have looked a little bit unnecessary. Frosty Heart had done more than enough of the work with the fire strike. And well, LAX down to the time bank that they had on attack now.
Yeah, absolutely. The bomb perhaps not needing to be committed unless you saw any defensive ultimates come out. So, because the attackers didn't commit any ultimates to try and stay alive, they knew they were dead in that grab. It is perhaps a bit of an overcommit, and they might want that in this fight. Here comes the EMP. It's gotten both James and Kia. That is huge. This could very much be it.
This could pretty much be done and dusted. Losing JCap and Frosty Heart will definitely help things. There is the Transcendence to keep everybody else up, as well as the rally, but with the Zuba being ejected, it's going to be extremely difficult. Frosty Heart's coming on the right heart to at least try and buy time. Shatter goes out, but was blocked by Virginia. And it's looking like there is a extremely hot Zarya, and Virginia tried to prevent the advance, but did not for the brief time being. James got the brief touch to finish, but now Emergency have tied the series at 1 apiece.
Absolutely. What a great comeback from Emergency Esports, considering how dominant LAX were in control, much better at playing the point. It's good to see that Emergency Esports, when the push comes to shove, they can play the point as well, and they put out an incredible defense on Anubis and some really impressive attacks as well. So we will be tying up the series as we head over next to Dorado, our escort map, in just a moment.
And yes, just to reiterate, we do not have the usual system of having the choice of map. The map pool is set, the vetoes were done beforehand. So we are now moving to Dorado, and because LAX had lost the previous map, they get the choice of side to start. And Dorado, for a pure payload map, it's actually one of my favorites, only because of the opening point and the large field of play that you have in the shopping plaza. Like you have the fountain and everything else around it. You have a variety of different sort of combat styles that you can play to. You could have the Overwatch with the Widow. You could have really close quarters in the side buildings should you choose to go around on attack.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many different ways to play that opening point, especially from the defense point of view. Because especially with Baptiste back in the game, you can absolutely bunker up after the arch and just lay down a withering amount of fire there. Or you can play a more dive-based defense, rely on a Widow and some tanks to jump in on those picks, or you can just run the Goats defense, drop on them, or you run the quad DPS. All of them have been seen. All of them can work right now. It's going to be very interesting to see if we do see Emergency Esports bringing out the quad DPS again, or if they are going to show us more of the bunker-based compositions that went a little better for them on Anubis. So yeah, they've already shown us a variety of different compositions. It's going to be interesting to see what we see out of them here. As well, I mean, they will be attacking first, so I suppose it would be. I suppose it'll be a bit until we see what they run on the defense, but at the same time, as you were saying, a lot of different compositions you can bring out on the attack as well. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what we see out of these teams here.
We'll see in about 20 seconds or so. Beautiful lights and pinatas. Just really wish as the spectator camera you could just find a pinata and just make it explode. That'd be funny, but silly. Either way, we're going into the actual phase now, and it looks like LAX are not mucking about. Frosty Heart is stuck to the Reinhardt, is looking to stick to the Winston, and now just going to the old dive.
Well, it's really more of the flying goats. They're running the 3 tanks. They've got the Brigadier in there as well. So they're going for the flying goats on this defense, which means they are going to be looking to very aggressively engage early and try and dislodge the attackers from that payload. On the other side, we do see Virginia hovering over the Bastion at the moment. If they can set up that pirate ship, it's going to be hell. But the whole point of this defensive comp is to not let that get set up in the first place. So we'll see how that goes.
And they're definitely going to know now. They've seen the barrel of Virginia and it's just let it rip. And look at it all. Look at the setup there. There's the sail destroyed by LAX, and it looks like before it even begins, this comp might actually just be completely reshuffled.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be easy to get that engage on there now that the Bastion is set up. Losing Kia early is not great either. They've taken down Exerst, but Exerst is not the big threat at the moment. They're sort of more of a supplementary threat. And right now it's looking very good for the attackers here. Virginia already got the configuration tank, and they're just going to use that to blow apart the 2 remaining defenders here. Jamez is down. They're looking for more as well. Frosty Heart, only a matter of time until they get cleaned up. There they go as well. And this payload is going to get rolling.
Oh boy. And do not step to pirates if you do not have the equipment to do so. Emergency are well and truly set up. They were looking close to abandoning it in the opening stages of the fight, but they are well and truly back at it and going at it with flying colors. And Exerst is gone and back to the respawn room. This is looking to be...
It's a good opening frag, but again, they need to get on that Bastion. If they can't shut down the Bastion, it doesn't matter. But there's the grab. That is huge, and they're going to clean it up from there.
And that is where the Pirate's Tale shall end. They're just past the arch into the actual shopping center in the first point. So now LAX have the... Well, some would say the easier task of the two and just digging in. But looking at Emergency, they're not afraid to go at it again.
Yeah, I suppose when you've got the Baptiste and you can lay down that invulnerability field, it does make the Bastion's mobile nature less of a liability. See, some ultimates being committed here, but that Bastion is still firing, and there goes Shy. Here comes another tank mode.
There goes the big tank, and it's blown away! Oh boy! We may as well just call that the entire Well, I was going to make a reference to German tanks, but it just sort of got away from me. But goodness me, Virginia just blew the opposition to Kingdom Come. And well, if you needed something to literally bust an entire opposition, that is how you do it.
Looking for me?
Yeah, some huge plays here from the Bastion. Virginia really getting the value through on there, and now we're setting up to B, and Exerce has gone on a long flank actually, but here comes the engagement over the top. Beaver Bomb does pick up special hit. That's a good opening.
That is a high value opening, especially getting rid of the Baptiste and the invulnerability field followed shortly after. And despite that, looking at LAX and their current position, this player is actually in a decent position to hang on to. But they must prefer it to move up a tiny bit and let the gate close.
Yeah, I don't think Emergency Esports expected a fight to be taken there because their DPS were not in position there. It was basically a local 4v6 fight because both the Ash and the Sombra were well out of position to contribute there. But Bob now helping pick up Shy. Exerce gets the finishing blow there. This is not looking great for the defenders, but losing Special Kid, kills coming through on both sides.
And Frosty Heart just made Virginia ride the lightning. There is the big EMP, did get J-Cap and Frosty Heart. Exerce is really laying into the opposition and has basically put that repeating rifle to use. The Viper will strike down their opponents in LAX, and Emergency Esports are moving this card forward with rapid pace.
Yeah, and that's definitely the fight they wanted this time. They really do need Exerce with them to just put out the incredible amount of damage that Ash has the potential to deliver here. And she really is just a very dangerous hero if you can't shut her down. Here comes Bob once again, but Bob gets thrown well clear of the fight. That's not going to get a lot of value there as this one unfolds.
That's one of the big downsides of Bob. Sometimes he doesn't quite go where he wants to, but does still get rid of Frosty Heart. So Bob did something. It might not have seemed like much, but it was enough. And well, Emergency basically set up, well, it was a ship, but now it's more an ambulance. They're running the people over and trying to get the payload to safety and to the end of America, and they have ended the second phase with at least very little opposition, but it's looking like the more time that passes, LAX are getting more and more prepared to stop Emergency.
Well, Frosty Heart jumping in now. There's the EMP, but Kia is there to try and mitigate that. Zupa's still losing the mech.
Zupa ejected. That is one of the things that you wouldn't want. The rally was called up by Shy. Virginia is down and out. That is one big, beefy German that you would want to eliminate from the field of battle. And LAX, just after that opening spiel when the second checkpoint was seized by Emergency Esports, LAX recalibrating and recentering, and they've gotten a good hold for now.
Absolutely, really well played there by Kia, managing to stay out of the EMP and then keep most of the team alive. Zupa did get DMX'd, but they prevented no other follow-through from that EMP, and those are the hardest fights to win, are those EMP fights. So really nicely played there to equalize there. But Frosty Heart going down early there, not a good start for this next one.
Definitely not. And Kia, the heavy hitter that you were mentioning has gone down to Exerce. There is a big Earth Shatter. And, well, that is a big MVP performance by Virginia. And this payload will keep going once again. And if Emergency play their cards right, they can basically lock out LAX to prevent them from recontesting. But that is Frosty Heart to keep the point alive.
Yeah, there's the grab thrown in, but unfortunately Special Kid's there to answer it, and the payload will manage to roll across the line, even though there were a couple other members of LAX in the area, but that was still looking very much like Emergency were going to be winning that fight regardless. And so with 90 seconds or just under on the clock, we will be moving over now to the LAX attack phase.
Yes, indeed. And do you think they're in a position to really match that type of pace?
It's a very fast time, so it's difficult. It's doable, but definitely very difficult. They especially got it through point C really quickly, considering how difficult that last piece of the map can be to defend. So it's going to be rough. It's definitely going to be an uphill battle to try and get that one across the line, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, as you did mention, the last point is one of the most difficult to really commandeer, especially if the payload gets stalled out where it did, which was just after the bridge, moving towards last. Around that bend is one of the most difficult to really get out of that bog if you are an attacker, but they ended up doing it with flying colors. So now LAX, it'll be up to them to match or better the time.
Yeah, composition-wise, it looks like we're going all the way back to last year. We've got the classic dive sitting in spawn at the moment. Tracer, Genji, Winston, Diva, Anna, Lucio. It's like we've gone back in time to like early 2018.
Oh, wow.
Meanwhile, on the defenders, they will be running Sombra once again with Mooney there, and Exerce providing a lot of pressure from that Widowmaker as well. So it's definitely going to be the battle of these very dive-based compositions, and we'll see who wins it. Here comes Frosty.
Frosty is really getting the jump on the competition. Super had been taken down, and Frosty did follow suit. So this opening push is essentially stifled, and well, the time machine was a good idea from LAX, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a thing that they're going to be sticking with.
Yeah, well, Exerst has been such a monster on hit scan, and they're putting out a great performance on this Widowmaker. If they're not able to get an engagement that can really disrupt Exerst, they're just going to be able to put down so much damage into these fights. So we really do need to worry about dislodging the Widowmaker. Oof.
And they can't do that with Frosty Hard out of the fray. Got zapped to death by the counterpart. And that's still a big get, and James hacked, and well, that's basically called it from LAX. They have to go back. They don't have a choice.
Yeah, Emergency is playing this really well because they're just waiting. They know that Frosty needs to get onto that Widowmaker or else, and so they're just waiting. Their tanks are ready. The rest of the team is ready, and the moment that Frosty jumps in, just the immediate counterplay, and he just gets deleted by Zephyr and Virginia jumping on him.
And you mentioned Exerce was going to be a high priority target. Did get focused down, has not gone out yet. Big EMP from Mooney there, and Emergency are really holding strong for now. It doesn't look like LAX are really in a good state at all, and they're slowly running out of time. They do have a few fights left, but you definitely expect things to be going a little bit better by now.
Well, they are slowly managing to grind this one out. They've finally gotten the payload up to the arch, and a couple of members of Emergency Esports having to back off. Pulse Bomb does get eaten by Zephyr as well, so... Ooh, and there's the Transat from Special Kid. That's a bit unexpected.
That could actually have really bad implications. And Zupa has decided to unsheath the blade, do a little bit of a knife infomercial, and I'm definitely sold on that. Did claim 2, and this payload will basically move through with relative ease now. And LAX, it took them a while, but they definitely found their footing. And they're fighting the gas pedal and putting their foot down.
Yeah, just managing to get that trans out early really opened the gate there, and yeah, really nice follow through from Zupa, getting the nano from here as well. Diva Bomb over the top now. Let's see if they can. They don't quite get any of the members there, but giving a lot of space and Exerst down again is going to mean that this attack does continue.
Even the threat of the self-destruct had forced the side of Emergency to basically flee into the courthouse and basically funnel the members just for LAX to predict their path and just cut them off basically cut the legs off that defense. So this payload is going to keep moving up through the main street and up towards the second checkpoint, and Special Kid being staggered out. That's going to make things even better for LAX.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really important to keep up the momentum here because this second point, the very end of it, can be so hard to attack if you lose that momentum, which is exactly what they're at risk of doing right now, losing Frosty and Kid.
And only Exerce has been gotten replied to, and it was looking like such a sure thing, but sadly it is not to be.
Yeah, some monster plays there coming out, and we will see the defenders setting up the hold here. And as mentioned, this can be such a dangerous place. It can be so difficult to get this payload moving if you get stalled out at this point, because there's so much good high ground for the defenders to take control of.
Yeah, this is basically what everybody fights for. That had the potential to be huge. A big EMP that wasn't quite the follow-up from Zephyr, but a valiant effort nonetheless. Jacob has replied in kind with the self-destruct, does not get all that much. Zephyr did get brought down by the pulse bomb, does not get taken out. Well, basically delayed the inevitable. Did end up getting ejected by Exhaust. Bit of a shape-shifting fight. Back and forth it will go, and LAX is slightly coming out ahead in terms of at least getting the payload to move, but
yeah, but the
they're
defenders
definitely
do have a slightly closer spawn. We are going to see Virginia making their way back into the fight here, and with Exert picking up 2 as well, this is looking like once again the defenders will hold here. Exert is just putting on such a great performance today. We've just really seen them come alive on this map, and just fight after fight, they're just really putting in the damage for their team.
And I'm almost certain there are tons of cans and cans like emotes to spam to help out Exert. He has been an absolute terror for the side of Emergency, and they're very thankful to have him, I'm sure. Mini's gone down to Shy though, so that is one crucial piece that has been taken off. Big blade from Zupa does cut down Virginia, and it took a while, but they ended up finally solving the defense, and it basically took a lot of the ultimates to come online. And LAX, they should get this point with minimal disruptions. And there we go. And
Virginia dropping the primal on the cart though. They're trying to keep this one alive.
basically bleeding the clock. You can't really blame them. They're down to 30 seconds, and the longer they can keep it contested, the less time LAX does have to play with. Zephyr's been given the marching orders, and now LAX have added another amount of time, but they're coming dangerously close to going below the time bank of the opposition of Emergency.
Oh yeah,
Emergency can
there's
actually...
no way that payload can get across the line in time, but here comes a big EMP.
Yeah, that would be 4 members taken out. 2 have been
I'm in fuego.
essentially deleted from play. Jacob has been taken out as well. And now Emergency just back to a good position. They're in an extremely good position because the gates actually shut on the side of LAX. And they'll make things a lot more difficult to actually get to the cart because you don't have that extra avenue.
Yeah, that's true, but because they've trickled into that late B defense, the ultimate economy very much against them now. A lot of tools in favor of the attackers, but an early kill onto Shy, and then the follow through onto Zupa as well. Exerst has just been absolutely dominating in this game. And here comes the Deadeye as well. They are just pushing forward. They basically need to go for this sort of aggressive defensive style, because if they allow the attackers to set up, get themselves into order and engage the fight, they're going to win just through sheer number of ultimates. So there's a lot of pressure on the defenders here. Emergency Esports need to take these aggressive fights, but so far they're really bringing it to them.
And Jarmez was actually at risk of going down. Still is. There is the Dragon Blade from Super. Just cut Exhaust in half. The rate of terror is over for a brief moment, but actually got put to bed. Big sleep there for a minute. And, well, you were saying that they could have won with sheer ultimates, but it took them a lot longer than they probably would have liked. But LAX will keep this payload going.
Yeah, so they've managed to get it rolling, and they've managed to do it with only 2 ultimates. They've still got a fair bit in the reserve here. There is going to be at least one more fight from the defenders. Probably only one more fight, given that we are into overtime. So there's still a lot of tools. They don't have a lot to worry about, but there is another EMP coming up from Mooney that can absolutely ruin their ultimate advantage. They need to...
There it goes. There is the self-destruct as well. Actually went right over, not in an ideal position. Jacob's been ejected. Frosty Heart has got the better of Mini, so equal opportunity. Fraz going 1 for 1. And Frosty Heart's really doing his damnedest to try and keep things in order for LAX and get them at least across the line. But Emergency proving to be the stronger of the pair. Virginia has gotten the final say, and Emergency have changed their tally from 1 to 2 as they take Toronto.
Yeah, absolutely. Just an incredible play there. Incredible plays there from the members of Emergency Esports. The ultimate advantage that the LAX had coming into that final fight is irrelevant if you can get that good opening EMP. They really did need to pick the fight before the fight could be picked again. And unfortunately from that, we do see them get that cart stopped. Really nice plays there from the members of Emergency Esports. They know their win condition and they're executing on it really well.
Shows that they are well and truly in order and are in the driver's seat. They have taken their second map, and this is a 1-3 set. So, Emergency definitely going to be feeling proud of themselves as we move on to our next map.
Yeah, we will be heading over to Numbani next, so another map that really can allow Exerce to put in a lot of pressure down from the long sight lines that Numbani gives available. They've been such a monster on these hit scan heroes. It's going to be a lot of pressure on LAX to try and once again shut down Exerce. Like we saw, the fights that they were winning were usually the ones that they were able to get the Genji, Zupa's Genji just getting up on top of Exerce and dropping them before they can start killing things. Because if you leave Exerce alive, you're going to lose teammates. That's the lesson we've been taught here.
Well, there's been a running thing of spamming things to quench your thirst to help Exerce, and well, he's been showering death and destruction and making them all drink it in, all the opposition, and well, you're gonna have to drink whether you like it or not.
Well, sometimes when you've got the thirst, the solution is the blood of your enemies, and if you need that, Exerce is the man to give it to you. But we'll be heading over. I know, it was terrible.
Exerce is confirmed for Mortal Kombat 11. Yes.
We will be heading into Numbani now, and once again, we will be seeing LAX defending first. So it's going to be, once again, a chance for Emergency Esports to show their stuff on the offense, and it's going to be interesting to see how they want to take this point A. Numbani A, in particular, is such an unusual position. It seems to have a completely different meta than every other part of the game. And as a result, we see some very interesting tailored strats for it.
And we'll see them slowly come to fruition on both sides. I'm more curious as to see what Emergency will end up going with. They have the power of, well, basically they have the advantage in numbers. Not in terms of manpower, but they have the score in their favor. They are currently 2-1 up. And if they win Numbani, we are done and we have our first finalist.
Absolutely, and they're looking so good right now as well. And so the defenders once again will be going for this Flying Goats composition, the Winston-based 3-3. And looks like we will be seeing Exerce back onto the Widowmaker and Mooney once again on the Sombra as well for their own dive-based offense. It's worked out pretty well for them so far. We'll see if this continues.
Even if nobody gets hacked, Moody will be calling out where the opposition are and really making a capitalization of that. Frosty Hearts actually brought the Zarya down extremely low for a brief period, but does end up being brought back into the fight, and as one member of Emergency getting the better of their opposition, and that's Frosty Heart, no longer a part of the fray. And
that's a
they're still going 1-for-1.
Yeah, this is looking like a bit of a drawn-out fight, and that does actually favour the defenders. It's the only map in the game where the point A actually has a closer defender spawn, but they will be able to reinforce here. So that's a minute off the clock. The defenders got to be happy after that one, but Mooney does have the EMP, so this next fight could be very dangerous. That said, this sort of defense plays very spread out. It's going to be a bit harder usually to catch everyone. As I say that, they all converge together to give a nice target for Mooney.
And even if Virginia just puts them down on the low ground, that is 4 of them claimed, and that is super stunned and ejected, and now a lone pilot got hacked as well and bled out of the fight, and well, with a devastating right hook, LAX has been effectively dismantled. And even with the buff there from Shy at the rally, Shy has basically been put to rest, and that is the objective completely seized by Emergency. And now the payload can get going.
Absolutely, and we will see them push up now in the streets phase. They know that They know that Shy only just died, and so there's an opportunity to try and pick a fight here before all the other members, but the defenders digging their heels in, they get the early kill into Exerst, but Exerst does get rezzed as well. This is looking like the payload is going to keep rolling here, and the defenders maybe not successful in buying much. They are getting some resources out. Oh, that's a
Big
nasty.
Kraken across the heart there.
The payload the whole time just freely pushing forwards. All they're really doing is getting ultimates out of the attackers, but that may be enough as long as they can get the hold here.
They've bled a few on the defenders.
I don't know if
so-
they're going to be able to get in there though. Exerst is still pushed up so aggressively, and that's the payload across the line. Streets phase goes through not with a bang but with a whimper, and we will be moving all the way onto C. Here comes the Deadeye out from Exerst again, this time not getting anything from it, but Frosty Heart down early. Not a good start. Super has picked up the Nano, but kills overwhelmingly coming through in favor of Emergency Esports, and there's the D-Mech as well. Even the Nano is not going to make you invulnerable, unfortunately, and with all that damage being put in, the defenders getting driven all the way back to their spawn. Jarmez ejected as well. And now there's really only going to be one more chance for the defenders to get their feet underneath them, and Mooney is still providing a lot of pressure on that Sombra, trying to get the early hacks. They are going to manage to get out now. Here comes the sound barrier. They know this is the fight they need to win. They're committing into it. Unfortunately, though, they're not really as together as they'd like. Here comes... They do get Exerst, but the res will be there under cover of the Transcendence. Diva Bomb doesn't get anything. Here comes the responding Diva Bomb from Zephyr. Picks up Jarmez. Deadeye doesn't get anything as JCap takes out Exerst. The defenders now running out of men as unfortunately it's just JCap alone on the point here now. Trying to keep this one alive desperately, but there's just too many members of Emergency Esports just trying to buy as much time as they can to allow the team to get back in. Mooney with the EMP over the top is really going to make it difficult to try and keep any further stall going. Here comes Shy now. They're trickling in one by one, but it's only a matter of time. Unless they can get some kills, this payload is doomed, and there it is. Cap across the line. What an incredible offense there from Emergency Esports. It really seemed like LAX is struggling to find answers with this squad.
They were just basically having a little bit of a crisis in terms of their defense. They were never able to really get one set up aside from the opening break.
Absolutely. Once the initiative was handed over to Emergency Esports, they were not giving that up. And they drove it all the way through. 3 minutes 26 on the clock. That's an incredible time for Numbani. It's going to be very difficult to match that. This is not looking good for LAX. This is match point. They need to win Numbani to keep their hopes alive.
And, well, you rarely see such a dominating performance from an attacking side. I counted I only counted 3 fights actually taking place. 2 on the opening point and 1 at the close. There wasn't even a full-fledged a fight that was on both teams' terms in the Streets phase. They initially wanted, I think LAX just wanted to bleed ultimates out, but ran over so hard they weren't able to get back into position.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing some really good forward pressure from Emergency Esports. They, as I said, once they had the initiative, they weren't giving it up. They played very far forwards, and Exerst was just really aggressively pushed up on the McCree. He had his Zarya there to bubble him if they tried to jump him, and he was just laying down some withering damage there. So now we will be moving over LAX on the attack. This is their chance. They've got Shy on the Sombra. Let's see if they can make it happen.
Actually making note of where Shy will end up. Going on the lower ground, has already hacked one of the health packs. And will once again be calling out this entire composition and might be caught out already.
Oof. Yeah, ejected early from that one. That hurts. And we are going to see the members of LAX just giving an orderly retreat. But here comes Emergency Esports. They want to get those exit frags, and there goes Frosty. This is their best chance to build those ultimates up, so they're absolutely going to pounce on that.
They smell blood on the side of emergency, and that's definitely how you want to start. You're already ahead in terms of ultimates as well. Like, only one is just ticking at 50% on the side of LAX, that being the Ana of Key.
Yeah, Key and Zupa is going to be the win condition of the fight. They go special kid. They may even do it without the Nano Blade here. They're off to a great start, and a hack on Exerst is going to make things difficult for him as well.
Pretty much a done deal. Mini has gone into Valkyrie form, but a lot of Mini's comrades are falling down around her, which is probably not what she'd want. Is only buying time with the giant wings out. There is the EMP, bringing the rest of LAX into line.
Well, and LAX really pulling out all the stops here. They're committing every ultimate as they get them up, just to make sure they get it across the line. That's the level of respect they have for Emergency Esports. Even though the fight looked like it was done, they did not trust themselves to be able to close it out without those ultimates. So a lot of respect being given here to Emergency Esports. They're not willing to take any chances. And that may come to bite them in the streets phase as they find themselves running a little dry in terms of ultimates.
When there's one or two members that are really making you question your move, that is a very scary asset. There was a big EMP, they claimed 3, nobody did go down though, and it's all forms of attack ultimates. The only one really of note is JCap being ejected, but that's just basically being formalities, and LAX are going to keep this rolling.
Yeah, really nice sound barrier from Jarmez, kept the whole team alive, and has really allowed them to turn around that fight. That's definitely the fight they needed, and now with really only going to be one more fight left for B, and they've got Shy's EMP online as well. That could be the tool they need to prevent the defenders from really being able to stop this one.
And they're almost walking right into it. Shy has not been found out.
Oh, very nice.
Kia did get going together. They could end up buying them extremely hard. Note that the checkpoint has actually gone to the Super, has ejected Zephyr from their mech. And it looks like Emergency are trying to tip the scales back. They're doing a decent job of it thus far. Mini has brought back Mooney. Well, this payload will stay put.
Yeah, very nicely
the side
played
of
there.
Emergency.
Very nicely played there for a special kid. They are not taking any chances. The moment they heard that Sombra decloaking, they hit the Transcendence, and it meant that they weren't caught in the EMP, and they were able to keep everyone else up and alive during it. So, really nicely played there by Special Kid. They knew that the EMP was coming, and they were not taking any chances with that one.
Definitely not, and especially with this much on the line, a grand finals berth, you can't really take any chances. There goes the pulse bomb from Exerst, but he got promptly put to bed and forced to retreat. That is the nano boost and the blade on top for Zupa. Does claim 1 and a second. Special Kid's been turned to scrap. Mini did bring Mooney back once more, and just a pure back and forth fight, but you'd slightly give the edge to LAX1, especially with Shy letting loose with the SMG, and well, the defense, it took them a while, but they eventually got eroded away, and we had 3 minutes and 25 some change for LAX.
That said, we are going to be seeing Exerst go over onto the McCree. He's making his stand here, and he's just been so devastating on that hero so far. And once again, there's not a lot of ultimates online to try and snowball this one through third. Third can be such a hard one to push through, and all they've got is JCab's Diva Bomb. And there it is. Oh,
So from JCab, it actually copped a huge frag onto Mini. She is down and out and just basically having to wash herself off of radiation. And well, off the back of that, that's going to send Emergency into disarray. They're going to have to give up even more space for LAX to push through unless there are heroic players from Exerst. He has claimed a pair, so a little bit of retaliation there. Well, we started off so well, and at the drop of a pin, it looks like the side of Emergency have stabilized and are forcing the opposition to stay put.
Yeah, it was a big opening kill getting the Mercy down, but unfortunately the follow-through was not coordinated. They were really spread out. They were jumping different targets. As a result, even though it's a 5v6 fight, the members of Emergency Esports are able to bring their firepower to bear in a more focused way and win it out. Target priority seems to have fallen apart for LAX there. Hopefully they can get that back online, because if that continues, they got no chance of getting this one across the line.
I am empowered.
They do have the luxury of a little bit more time, but basically in two-fight territory. And looking at LAX's ult economy, it is not in a good way. But note the Nano Blade. That has been brought to bear. Zupa has been brought into the fight, and well, Exerst tried to get the flank on, but the Deadeye did not end up bearing any fruit, so we ended up paying the price. Mooney has put a rocket to Jarvez. Big self-destruct does not get any return on that one. And well, LAX, it was looking unlikely, but it looks like they are able to get a winning fight. But Mooney has claimed 2 with a barrage and ejected Zephyr from their mech. So perhaps a big misplay from LAX. This has gone from really, really jovious to really, really insanely soul-crushing. LAX, you have to get to your battle stations. You were down to under a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best Nano Blade either. They didn't really get any value from it. It looked like Zupa was chasing around a Winston for some reason. Obviously, the flank noon didn't work out from Exerst, but that was hardly the only thing going on there. And, yeah, I mean, the McCree ultimate, hard to get value from in the best of times, but losing your Nano Blade because you're chasing a Winston, that's a worry. But an early kill into Exerst, there's an opportunity. Never mind.
Virginia's swatted back here, so they're no longer a threat. And Frosty Heart is big, beefy, and being an absolute nuisance, but that's forcing LAX to retreat, and now we are definitely in one-fight territory. And, well, basically this is an even keel. It'll be developing ultimates during a fight.
Yeah, it's going to come down to Zupa and Kia. They want to get this Nano Blade, and they need it to go well. There's the Deadeye coming in. Exerst gets Jarmez. That's big. Here comes the counter Deadeye from Shy. Doesn't get anything from it. And the Blade is out, but the trance is there. They're just not getting the value. Emergency Esports has this one locked up. And that's just JCap alone against the world, desperately trying to keep the hopes and dreams alive, but just one diva against a full team. They're not going to be able to get that one across the line. That will be it. Emergency Esports have taken Numbani, and they have won the series. Emergency Esports will be going to the grand finals.
And, well, there wasn't really any doubt just based on when they, on the side of Emergency, they ended up getting just stuck in on the defense. And, well, as you mentioned it, we've mentioned it in the intermissions, I believe, in all of our games this evening. Exerst is having an absolute field day as a hit scan DPS, and just basically ran roughshod on the opposition. And, well, when the time came, he just laid the hammer down and didn't look back.
Absolutely. Incredible performance there from all the members of Emergency Esports, though. Really hard-fought game, and they're really... You can see just in how the team is playing around it, just how their comms are working, and what their team strategies are. They definitely got a good thing going there. It's going to be interesting to see if they can take it all the way in the grand finals tomorrow night.
Yes, and I believe that we only had the one game this evening, and that is done and dusted.
We have the second quarterfinals coming up shortly between Kraken Black and New Era Vito. So we will be, I believe, taking about a 5-minute break or so, and then we will be heading straight into the second grand finals, and we'll be handing over to the lovely. It looks like I'll be handing over to the lovely Phoenix, and we'll be continuing with that second match.
Yes, and I'd actually been brought in as a ringer, but things have all worked out in the end. So we have gotten our first grand finalist in the form of Emergency Esports at an absolutely thunderous showing, 3 maps to 1, and Peronius, it was an absolute blast. The technical issues aside on my local end, but it's been a ton of fun.
Absolutely. So stick with us, everyone. We'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes for the second quarterfinals between Kraken Black and New Era.
Hello everyone and welcome back to AOE Sports and our coverage of the Rise Up Invitational. We've already got one team that made it through the semi-finals and now we have to find another team to join them with the second semi-final, this one between Kraken and New Era. I am Joe Phoenix and with me is Cyberways. How are you doing, my good friend?
I'm doing very, very well, and I'd actually just sat through said game where Emergency Esports punched their ticket to the grand finals in a 3-1 victory over LAX1, and now we get to see whether or not we'll see a similar scoreline, or basically who will join them and how many and how hard they have to fight for it.
Yeah, it's because it is going to be, as it was in the previous series, a best of 5. We already have all of the maps already laid out and ready for you all, so we don't have to go through that whole song and dance of, well, what do we kind of have to expect coming into the next map. So starting off, it is going to be Lijiang Tower. I believe both teams are ready and we are ready to get into this game and get this show on the road.
Yeah, so we will start on Lijiang Tower, which has been the starting map pretty much all season. And then to follow up, we have Hanamura, Junkertown, Kings Row, and Nepal for our full map set. And it will be a first 2-3, not a best of 5. Because we can have ties. But knowing the current rhythm of certain games, we might not be requiring that.
Alright, so here we are. First stage, it looks like it's going to be the night market. We have to see what kind of things that both teams are going to be running out with, because there have been a little bit more of a shake-up. Baptiste has been popping in here and there, expecting too much differences from the usual coming into this map.
No, not really. There's been either just the good old-fashioned triple goats composition. You can hear the bleating already, but we perhaps will see if the teams fill up to it. We might see a Farah, or just basically being more mobile with the Sombra, or, well, from the looks of things, from the initial lay of the land, we will see the tried and true 3-3 composition.
And it is going to be Kraken Black on the blue, New Era in the red, as we are getting ready to get into this first round of this, as you mentioned, first to 3 series. And yeah, it's looked like we have identical compositions. There's been some times where the Winston has been substituted in for that Reinhardt for a little bit of extra mobility, but not the case this time, as both teams are just going to walk straight into each other, trying to get that first engagement. As Panthers get that first one to go down, New Era does manage to get the better position around the rest of this fight, but with the other Reinhardt going down as well, this could go anyway at this stage.
Well, New Era does have the power of positioning, as you did mention, and looks like the side of Kraken Black are really trying to basically bully their way in, just snap the lock and break in, and slipped it, almost went into the streets below, but ended up coming back, and there is rallies coming out from Juboy, and there is the counterpart Transcendence from Merit. But Kraken Black's patience is starting to pay off, with the defense slowly being dispositioned and forced to retreat.
Yeah, and Design getting a very key few kills by booping people right off that stage, really just set up the fight incredibly well for Kraken Black to just roll through towards the end there. That's usually what you see with these compositions. One person goes down and things can just start to snowball, especially when it is those Brigitas who have so much impact in these compositions. As now the point is in favor of Kraken Black, as the Graviton does come out, but does have a sound barrier in response. No one going down just yet. Kyra is going to be the first one to get dropped in this fight. Explosion goes a bit high, doesn't get anyone, as Penny is going to get dropped down thanks to a flame strike, but Zezo does get cleaned up by the return firing mech explosion as Slipkip is actually getting real heavy onto this kill feed, and it looks like New Era, they want to get on this board.
And they basically put out the oil slick and told them all to step in line. And Kraken Black, well, they sadly slipped and fell, and because of that, they lost possession of the point. 46 is where the run will end for the side of Kraken Black, and now New Era will be wanting to go through a couple of fights that get an even keel and keep this advantage in their favor. It looks like the side of Kraken Black are wasting no time. They want to get this back.
Yeah, they do have a couple of key ultimates to come in to this next fight. They do have the rally up if they want to use it. On the other side, they're still quite a way away from it, but a good Earthshatter puts so many members onto the ground, and that should just clean up this fight before it can get anything done. And brilliantly done there from Penny to just get right behind that shield, lay all of those squishy members down on the floor, and stop it before anything could get started.
That is exactly what you'd want, especially if you want to be that efficient. Only using one ultimate and just basically stunning the entire push for Kraken Black. Sure, it could be considered just a alt bank for them, but anyone that you could really take like that, you'll definitely take every day of the week. And there goes the Graviton Surge from New Era, so they are wanting to keep this momentum going.
Yeah, they want to keep this fight going. They do have a rally up being used by Duboy for Kraken Black as they try and make their way towards the point. They are very heavily disadvantaged when it comes to ultimates, but one gets stopped by the shield, but because of that, Paso was ended up just getting taken down. Just the sheer amount of damage. The rest of the team could not help out, and the rest of Kraken Black are forced into retreating. They have to reset. They don't have all that much time left in this round. 81% and counting here for New Era, and it's starting to look a little bit rough here, Cyber.
Indeed, the Kraken might not actually be released here, and it could be just a round on the board for New Era. Quad J may just be looking to initiate with the self-destruct, and looking like they are ready to go. There goes the sound barrier, and everything being thrown at the opposition. There goes the self-destruct, did not claim anybody. Just barely getting onto the point before the overtime wick did completely cease to exist. There goes the rally from Jewboy, getting focused down, and there goes the Graviton Surge for the opposite side of the side of New Era, and looks like the feed is being painted a very deadly shade of red, and the attacking side of the side of Kraken Black has been completely thwarted, and that will be the first point going to New Era.
Yeah, at the very start of that fight, there were quite a few ultimates being thrown in by Kraken that just got completely negated. And at that point, the control was essentially all in favor of New Era. They were able to dictate the pace of the fight, utilize ultimates as they needed, not necessarily scrambling the way that Kraken were. And yeah, controlled it from start to finish. And Kraken just ran out of steam, but now coming into this round 2 in at the control center. A very different look, this style of map, but it's looking like we're getting pretty much the same compositions though.
Well, when it's gotten you this far and this much success in the current meta, I mean, stick to what works. There's no fault in that. And New Era, ever so slightly there before the side of Kraken Black, but it looks like they've just gone to the point proper and are just trying to brawl it out for both of them. Paso being brought extremely low. Both the Reinhardts are being focused on extremely early, and Penny is the first to perish.
Yeah, really nicely done there from the side of Kraken Black, getting good angles, and just because, as you mentioned, they went to the point proper right away, and they were able to get themselves set up perfectly to take that engagement. And because New Era went towards that higher ground and then tried to readjust, they just weren't really set as well, and Penny being that first one to go down is going to allow Kraken Black the first shot at this point, but that's what happened in the previous round, and New Era were able to turn it around. The design is going to get taken down, got picked apart from the rest of the team. Rally up is used from the side of New Era, and they have some good defensive tools, and they've used quite a few of them as they're coming into this fight. Graviton was used from the side of Zetzel, and now to see how this fight continues. As the Earthshatter does get dropped, no one going down just yet. There's a lot of health bars going up and down and just fluctuating back and forth, but still no one has gone down yet. Penny does get dropped, but the return kill on the opposing Reinhardt, as the fights are going to keep on dragging on his side.
Yeah, And if you were Kraken, you will definitely take this every day of the week. The sound barrier is put in as an insurance policy. Lush is no longer in the land of the living, no longer part of the battlefield. And Merit will basically be sealing the deal for Kraken Black to hang on. And we are ticking past 57%. And we will be looking at Kraken Black ever and ever closer to evening up the map. But New Era are not going to take this lying down. Looking at their ult economy, they're going to really go in and let things go. And Zetzel's thrown out the grab to keep the side at bay.
Yeah, Ultra's being dropped left, right, and center, and a great one from
Jay.
J4 manages to get 3 members out of this fight with their single button. That's what you want to see. You talk about ultimate economy and efficiency. That's about as efficient as you can get.
Well, Adam Cole always says it best. He just says it. Boom. That's exactly what happened, Quad J, with 3 big frags. And that, my good man, is undisputed. Not in the slightest. But now, what is disputed is the point. New Era and their chances. They've got 1 left, and we've already got overtime. So it's a long road ahead.
Yeah, they have used multiple ultimates. The Earthshatter did get blocked, so that's something they won't have in the rest of this fight. Penny got taken down, split apart, and just picked apart. Zetzel does end up falling to the Graviton, as the point is still contested with the change over to the Mayors. Even a Blizzard does get thrown down, and this is a good amount of control. And maybe this is going to be the point where New Era can come in and start to turn this fight around. Kills are going over back and forth. It's trading back and forth. The point is still in favor of Kraken Black, but losing members it is starting to look a little bit rough. The amount of control that Slipgip is starting to bring with this main is really starting to turn the favor in favor of the red side. But here comes the returning members of this defensive side, as they do end up. Actually, they just got straight off the point, and that's just going to be the round.
Oh, that was really unfortunate. Kraken Black should be just wiping the sweat off their brow because of how elongated that fight was.
They kind of got away with
starting
it.
to become. It got all over the place, and well, sadly for the side of New Era, they just. I think it's just a simple. They lost track of how long that fight was going, because as soon as you step off the point, the longer the fight goes, the overtime week, it doesn't burn. It just disappears. And sadly, time was New Era's enemy, and now we are tied at 1. And now it goes to the Garden.
Yeah, and it was looking pretty good throughout that fight. It looked like it might have gone in favor of New Era, but it's not to be, as we are now coming in to the Gardens as we see some very, very different compositions on both sides.
Slim Jim on the Ash, keep an eye on him. And that's just for a personal note and merit. In a tandem effort, Karu's been the first member eliminated on the side of Kraken Black, so that is one of the tentacles being stripped away. And New Era, they're slowly enveloping onto the point with every single frag that they could get their hands on. It looks like New Era are not taking this lying down.
Yeah, and with this quad DPS lineup coming out from New Era, there's a lot of damage that they're gonna have to deal with on Kraken. They're trying to get onto the point and trying to establish some control, but it's very hard for the rest of the team. But when they're just getting picked apart with so much damage, we see them get taken right off the point. Nanda has already got one of those missile barrages and even lets it go just to get rid of J4, just to give them the point so they can just dictate the pace of this game.
It looked like Nanda was wanting just to get back into position to taxi the Mercy of Dawn back into the position. We see the Wrecking Ball of Penny just scouting out. I love this use of the third-person camera as well. It gives you a unique perspective when you are in the ball form. And Zetzel has taken out a key threat. Nanda is down and out, and the Resurrection has been forced out. Dawn has brought the back into the fight. Merit's got the better of the opposing Mercy. So it is looking like New Era are really wanting to get stuck in and forcing the hand of Kraken Black.
Yeah, but it's very hard. They've already lost several members throughout this entire fight, and they are going to have to reset. Bob got thrown in. Last was on the backside. Merit was taking care of supports, and it's just so hard to deal with. For the side of Kraken Black, you try and have this very cohesive unit making your way towards the point, but then you're dragged and pushed and pulled in all these different directions. You never know. You're not sure where to be looking.
There goes the EMP thrown out. got a couple, and well, in the tight rooms, and all like that, and a series of events like that is this a meat grinder, and well, Kraken Black as well, may as well just be called Calamari Black now. That was rough, and New Era are slowly chipping away and really ensuring themselves getting this map.
Yeah, and there's not much time left. Just ticking over the 80% mark there for New Era. There's a couple of ultimates to use for the side of Kraken Black, but they're going to have to make real good use of them. It's the double support ultimate that they have. But on the other side, they have some good area control. The minefield is going to get dropped, and here comes a missile barrage. Takes care of one, but got killed in the response thanks to the coalescence. Now here comes Bob to try and help out on this defense. It's into overtime. They have to get onto this point and really make the most of it. They're getting a couple of kills here and there, but they're not able to put the point just yet. The fight is going to continue on this point. They're starting to lose members just one by one, and they're just not able to fully take every member out of the way. There's even Paso moving over to the wrecking ball just to fight fire with fire, so to speak, as this fight is just going to keep on continuing. Nunda does manage to take down Paso, also managed to take down Design as well, as they're just losing members. They're trying to stay around on this point, but it's just not working out for them. And they just get off the point. They just don't have enough members around. A New Era just completely control that round to take the first map.
That was a full-blown clinic there on Garden, and just a fluid shutout there for the side of New Era, and a well-earned map victory, and that'll give them the one map advantage going into the next one, which is Hanamura. And you and I have seen many a skirmish go down on Hanamura, and it's moving into an interesting phase, especially with the addition of Baptiste.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what these teams are going to be bringing out. Kind of strategies. I mean, we've seen the 3-3, seen what it can do and how good it is in the grand scheme of things. But there are much more options now. You don't have to go back, default back to that 3-3 if you, as a team, are really set up with these other compositions. And I'm really excited to see what both of these teams are going to be bringing to this one.
Yeah, it's the advantage of a slowly evolving meta, especially with the recent update and the forthcoming update of the I forget what it's Storm Rising, the next event.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily call it a post goats meta because it's still a thing.
It's still very much a thing. There's no doubt about that. But it's given a lot of different possibilities for different maps. Like you see. For Control, you'd see a lot of the quad DPS. You'll see that occasionally on certain maps as well for the Escort and things like that.
Yeah, it's just the more options is what we're starting to see over the past couple of months, and that's what we wanted. We wanted just more options. Sure, like the 3-3 is still, it being there is like, love it or hate it, it's still going to be a thing just because of how, I guess, consistent it can be. But just being able to have other options, it makes things a little bit more, I guess, vibrant and varied once we get from map to map and from team to team. Just having those few variations here and there, it just makes it a little bit more exciting to watch. And I'm hoping we see one of those fun variations in this map.
Yes, I'm hoping. Maybe we'll get to the point that you might see in, say, other games where teams become so familiar with each other, it'll just basically be a constant merry-go-round and a constant just basically trying to solve a puzzle right before our eyes, and one comp isn't really going to do the job. You're really going to have to adapt from team to team and map to map, just adding to the variations. And it looks like we're going to be digging in on the side of Kraken Black. It's looked like we're going to be seeing the bunker comp coming in, especially with Zetzel as a Bastion, the Orisa of Paso, and Kairu will be the linchpin for this entire comp.
Oh yeah, that Baptiste coming out, and yeah, I'm very excited to see how this one plays out. They're going to be able to get set up, and we'll have to see how this offense is going to try and deal with it, whether or not they're able to just completely circumnavigate it. We've seen situations where a team is trying to set up on defense and the offense just like walks right past them. And to see if they're able to do that. They do have the Sombra Lush to try and scout out, see what kind of defense they're going to have to deal with. They do get good vision of what is awaiting them once they get through those gates. We already
If Lush can get a hack here, that would be huge for them.
Yeah, Lush, and also the Wrecking Ball was already on the point, and they are just going to start making their way towards the point. The field has been dropped, has already been taken down. It's set up on the point. The readjustment of the defense. Zetzel is now on the point with the rest of the team there to help out. Already lost, I believe it was the mech.
Yeah, boy Jay's just been ejected thanks to Merit's Stormboat. Actually, no, it wasn't the Stormboat, but that is the. I want to say that's the name of the weapon. It was looking like Kraken Black are holding strong now.
Yeah, now that they're able to readjust their defense, they're able and they are very aware of where the offense is coming in from. They're able to deal with it at a reasonable stage. As a good arrow comes, Dragon does come straight through, takes care of Zetzel. So that's a lot of the DPS and a lot of that defensive power just taken out before it can get too much done. And now they do make their way towards the point as they completely shred apart the rest of this defense.
And that is the problem of a bunker comp like the one that was demonstrated by Kraken Black. If it's so tight knit together, if you have a Dragon Strike that basically deals with that, where you sort of part the seas, it is going to be a whole lot of hurt for whoever is the recipient of that. And well, New Era just go through as clean as you like. They could easily snowball this, but it looks like we're having the full-blown trade out for the start of New Era.
Yeah, it seems as though they are very aware that the defense will also be making some adjustments. So not wanting to run straight into the adjustments coming out from Kraken Black and potentially giving them essentially a free win. It's a great EMP, sets several to the silences. As they're able to pick up a couple of kills, D-Mac J4 and start making their way towards the point. See if they can get a couple more and get some progress on this point. It is just Dubois left on the point. Does get taken down, and they are just cleaning up member left, right, and center. And now it's going to be very hard for Kraken actually to get onto the point. They don't even get there, and that is as quick as you like it. Point B just taken by New Era.
That is what a snowball looks like, Mr. Phoenix. That was
and that was even
clinical.
That was even with an adjustment to the composition. It's like usually the snowballs like go from A to B immediately and just utilize ultimate advantages. The only ultimate that they really needed to get that snowball working was that EMP. Lush was the only one who didn't really swap over, and that was the linchpin for that entire offense, and it just worked perfectly.
It ran like clockwork, and I was actually observing personally. I was observing Lush and just looking at. The opposition hadn't noticed him. As soon as he let that go, there were 5 that were hacked. And well, 9 times out of 10, that is just basically either a wiped out squad or a squad that's in complete disarray and doesn't know how to really deal with that. And that was what they took advantage of on the side of New Era. And that's where you see the tieback that you see now. 5 minutes and 34, Mr. Phoenix. That is insane.
That's a lot of time. That is definitely a lot of time to work with. So they can be very, very secure in this defense, and knowing that even if they do end up giving up point A or even point B, they're probably going to be holding on to a reasonable time bank advantage. So that's one thing that Kraken Black are going to have to be very aware of as they go through this offense, is that yes, we do need to just, first of all, just complete the map, but we have to complete it with enough time that it gives us an opportunity at another go and really contest New Era. But we do see similar bunker composition coming out from the side of New Era. See if it's going to work a little bit better. But on the other side, we are seeing the quad composition, the quad DPS composition.
Yeah, just fire with fire, and looking at Quad J, you definitely want to be looking at him to do the recon. And there is Paso on the point, just trying to divert attention. And well, if the invulnerability field could go down, that would be huge. That's exactly what Dubois did. Lush shortly followed, and while this bunker comp has been completely busted.
Yeah, they try to get the looked like they tried to get the resurrection in, but wasn't able to. Just got completely pushed off the area. We do have Paso on the point, just being a big nuisance. Penny does get taken down, but they do finally take down the Paso on the point, so they hold on to control of the area just for now, as you have the Baptiste just getting a little bit of aggression from the backside as J4 does manage to take him down. It gives a little bit of opportunity over to this Kraken Black offense, but they're not able to really get much space beyond just making their way past the gate at this stage. But Duboy actually does manage to get a good knockoff onto Slip, as they are finally able to pick apart a few members and tear apart the rest of the defense, get themselves onto this point.
It took him a little bit of extra time, but Kraken Black got there in the end. We will see. It'll be around 2 minutes. Oh, it'll be around 6 minutes and 30. Yeah, 6 minutes and 30. 6:30 flat, and they can easily move forward. Looking at the ultimate bag that the side of Kraken Black has, keep an eye on the pharmacy of Duboy and Design. That barrage could be the key to this next push, especially if Quad J gets a big hack but got found out, and Slim Jim gets a tasty pair of dragons right to the gullet, right to the defense matrix. Thank you very much. And Penny, and it looks like the rest of the defense is saying, yeah, we're gonna have to cancel this entire push. Kraken Black's Paso did throw out the minefield. Quad J has actually hit the deck, and if I were Kraken Black, I would be seriously reconsidering where you stand. I'd be running away and reconfiguring.
Yeah, it looked like they had some good ultimate advantage coming into that offense, but just getting completely negated by the defensive positioning from the side of New Era, just completely denying that. And it looks like it is going to be forcing out a few changes in the composition. Paso going back over to the Reinhardt. A little bit more of the usual composition that we've seen as of, one of the more usual compositions we've seen as of late. Similar to the 3-3, but just switching out one of those for the Sombra just to get those hacks in, because we've seen just how impactful that ultimate can be.
Keep an eye on Quad J though, does have the EMP at the go. There goes the translocator, and there goes the EMP. Did get two, but that is the biggest two that he probably would have asked for. And Nanda's Doomfist has been completely munted. Sorry, you're gonna have to go on the bench for a while. And Kraken is slowly enveloping their way out of the point, but they can't do all that much in terms of mobility. Design has been taken out.
Yeah, there've been some really good positioning from this defense, just not setting themselves up to get completely dismantled by that EMP. It was just the two members up high who ended up eating it, but still survived throughout it. And when the fight started to be taken towards the point, they just turned it right on its head. Really great positioning from Lush on the high ground to take care of any stray members with that Deadeye. Managed to pick up Design, and the rest of that offense just couldn't really keep up. And now we're into a bit of a situation where we're starting to run down that timer here from the side of Kraken Black. Switch over to the 3-3 here for New Era, and the switch over to the Diva for J4. We're back to standard 3-3s, and now we have to see how this fight goes, because it worked out pretty well for Kraken Black back on Bijang, but it didn't end up getting the win in the end. But now we're back to those straight 3-3 fights, as both Transcenders, Transcenders is going to get thrown out as we take it to outside onto the balcony, as Penny is going to get taken out of this fight.
Penny got nano boosted, and all he got for it was taken over the edge. Sorry, champ. There goes the sound barrier for New Era, keeps everybody up and at him. But there is a big shadow from Peso. Make them all Peso out. And hopefully Kraken Black can really take a better advantage of this. Did get rid of Lush. But the attackers and defenders are basically in a war of attrition, and Kraken Black is slowly trying to stem the defenders away, and Penny is a good get for them.
Yeah, and even though the Paso was knocked down onto that low ground and forced away for a little bit, the rest of the team able to do a lot of work, as the ultimate advantage is looking pretty good. A good Bionade onto that stacked up group, as Penny is able to just start running rampant throughout this team, as the nano does go down onto Nanda, as the Brigitte is just going to start slapping away. And throughout all of this, despite how good it seemed for the side of Kraken Black, the defense holds strong.
Yeah, basically the longer they basically are able to hold on the side of the defense, the more in the favor it will become. We saw a couple of changes to more mobile heroes, especially the Wrecking Ball, which I noticed that Lush has gone back to the Zarya. Good to see the more mobility is really paying off for the side of New Era, and both sides have put on notice. They know what both are capable of now. We could be seeing a lot of sort of glue and glass barroom brawls moving forward, and Dubois has basically done the call to arms, and Nanda is down and out.
Ooh, yeah, good couple of early kills, 3 early kills coming in favor of Kraken Black. The rest of the defense was up high and was not able to really help out, as they are just going to be cleaned up real quickly. The rally up is going to get used just to try and stall out for a little bit longer. It feels like it's just panic station, well, stalling stations at this stage, as the 3 members do get onto the point. They do manage to take down Passer, so a nice kill there. Going over for the defense, the Mech Explosion does get thrown out. Member's already dead, so it doesn't really get too much out of it. But because the Lucio is still just lying around on this point, no more than, well, they haven't even got a single third of it as of yet, as Mech Explosion does go through. They're even to switch over to the Wrecking Ball just to keep things stalled out and just keep it as obnoxious as possible, as just keep on just bleeding out this time bank here for the side of Kraken Black. J4 does manage to get a couple of kills, nicely done there for the Diva, as they do end up taking care of that front line. It looks like they are able to clean out the rest of this defense, give themselves some more time on the point, but they have already bled so much time out of this. Merritt does get onto the point, immediately locked down. The point does finally get fully captured, but is down to less than a minute there for Kraken Black.
Started at 5 minutes and 30, and an elongated fight later to boot. They started around that last fight. That started, I want to say, at around 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So the defenders of New Era, they bled so much time and made poor you, Mr. Phoenix. They made you just go because you tried to keep up with the fight. You're just like,
That's the thing with these
slow
kinds
down.
That's the thing with these kind of compositions. The fights just don't end. Until one person goes down, and then it really just goes downhill. They just go on for so long with those kinds of compositions. So, but it worked out really well for the defense. They look how much time they bled out. They've only got a minute left on the clock, whereas New Era, they've got over 5 minutes. They've got 5.5 minutes to work with.
Yes, and because of the way that this game mode is structured, you don't get the 4 minutes to get the point. I believe you only get 30 seconds added on. So Kraken Black, they've basically got it's basically one and done time for them. And judging from their composition, unless they pull the wool over all of our eyes, both us and the observers, looking to basically just rush it down and hope that everything falls into place. Squad J will be pivotal here.
Very interesting positioning here from Nanda. Huh. He's just
I dig it. I dig it a lot, actually. A good use of the geometry. It could actually be extremely painful, especially if Jewboy gets blindsided.
I'm hoping he just like punches this poor Farah out.
We won it out of the goal.
Oh, almost had it. Doesn't actually manage to get it. They do manage to take down Zetzel. Merritt is going to be the killer for that one, as they try and make their way towards the point. We do have quad DPS for the side of this offense of Kraken Black. A little bit more of a... it's an interesting defense coming out for a New Era, but they're able to hold on for just a little bit. The offense is starting to slowly make their way as they're trading kills back and forward. With J4 going down, the Sombra is going to be one of those rather pivotal pieces of these compositions. Let's see if they're able to get onto the point. Even get at least a third would be real nice for them, just to try and hold on to anything to work with on their next defense, but it's not looking too good right now.
Definitely not. It was a valiant effort, and just trying to get in. Lush did end up ejecting Slip Jip, and Don's brought out a Dex, but doesn't look like the attackers will be able to get the crucial third, much to their chagrin. And now the win condition is simple for New Era, and look at the time that they have. 5.5.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a rough one, because usually it's rather rough to get a full hold on this first point. We've seen it a couple of times here already. Having to prevent even a single third, that is a monumental task that Kraken Black are gonna have to if they want to keep themselves even in this series.
There's like only one instance that I can think of where a time bank of this length has even come close to being completely depleted, and that is a Overwatch League game like way back in the first season. I think it was the fuel and the uprising, and they came
Oh,
close
yeah.
because there was like 5.5. Like, I think it was like 6 minutes or so left in the time bank, and there was nearly all of it got depleted. So,
Yeah, it is possible. It's theoretically possible, but
but it
it's-
degree of difficulty, Mr. Phoenix. That is extremely high.
yeah, it's an unenviable task for the side of Kraken Black. See if they can dig their heels in and make sure that this offense gets absolutely nowhere, as this quad DPS is going to start making their way towards the point, trying to come in at these different angles, try and just get around what this bunker is trying to get set up as. We do have Merit all the way around the back. Lush is already on the point, trying to force it around, move around this defense, as they do manage to take care of the vulnerability field from the Baptiste as they start to make their way towards the point, or at least try and drag them into a situation where they're essentially just fish in a barrel, and they are really starting to get cornered and pincered, well, not pincered, but just like set into a small area, as Zetzel does manage to take down another, but does get forced out. The resurrection, as they're starting to lose a few things here and there. The fight is going to keep on going, but Zetzel is, with all this protection around him, is able to get a couple of kills to really help out on this defense.
Yeah, it looked really dicey though, with none to be at the tip of the spear, and using the concussive blast to basically pry the side of Kraken Black away from their initial position. But it looks like things are starting to stabilize, and we're 1 minute deep into a giant time bank, and well, little victories for Kraken Black. They're just gonna have to take little steps, and that's a big step as well by taking out Lush.
I will not wait.
Yeah, it gives them a little bit of extra time where they don't have to worry about one of their certain flanks, as Penny is going to start just prodding at this point, trying to see where this defense is set up, to see if they're going to be trying to catch them unawares, I guess, as both of the pharmacies are still trying to get some good positioning for the rest of their team towards this point. Lush is now back on the field and is actually on the point right now, as we do have it just trading damage back and forth. Lush is going to be in a bit of an awkward situation, does get bumped off, but does manage to translocate out of there before they're getting sent to that death plane, as Valkyrie does get used from the side of Don. Bob gets thrown in onto the point, right into the middle of everything, as Zetzel does manage to take down Xander, as the defense matrix completely negated a lot of that missile barrage, but Bob is getting in on the action, takes down a couple of members, as the rest of the team is able to just follow through. The mines are out, they are able to clean up the rest of the defense. They get that single tick that they need, and New Era go up 2-0.
And we both figured it was only a matter of time, but a very admirable stand there for Kraken Black. But well, when you have that much to chew through, it's only a matter of time. And this entire fight, I know, Phoenix, I want to give you all the commendations in the world for trying to keep up through the final fight, where New Era finally had oh no, it was Kraken Black that had finally commandeered the point. But just that elongated, scrappy fight. So the fact that New Era were able to keep calm under all that pressure and bleed as much time as they did, that's a really good sign for them in the future.
Yeah, they are looking like an incredibly powerful team throughout this series. Kraken Black doing everything that they can just to essentially hold on at this stage. We're coming into this third map, and it's do or die at this stage. If New Era takes Junkertown, which is where we're going to next, they will win this series and book themselves a spot in the grand final tomorrow night. But Kraken Black, they're not going to go down without a fight.
Definitely not, especially when you're named after a creature as mythical and as awe-inspiring as a Kraken. Like, you have to give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, and
the name itself is extremely menacing.
Absolutely, and there have been moments where Kraken Black have looked incredibly powerful, and it looks like they have switched sides. So now we are gonna have Kraken Black on the red. New Era is going to be now on blue. Interested to see what kind of compositions come out on Junkertown, because there has been.
Did we see the resurgence of the pirate ship?
That's what I was going to ask. The pirate ship is, I'd say, the tried and true kind of composition of Junkertown, but it's one of those things that is like, if you're not expecting it, you are going to fall prey to it.
And especially, like, it's going to be a mirror of the bunker comp that we saw on Hanamura.
It's just the offensive version of that, essentially.
Yeah, essentially, that's exactly how it's all going down.
It's just the payload
but
allows
we're
it to
not the
be.
players.
It's just the payload allows a defensive composition to be mobile. That's literally it.
That is essentially it, and especially if the defense can't get set up on the opening point, and they basically have 2 points to really keep themselves dug in. They can either get to right where the gates are, or get to the big open field that's right in front of the gates that you do see in the opening splash for Junkertown. But now we go to what could potentially be the final map if the side of New Era has any say about it. They've been extremely strong. Not to say that Kraken themselves have been a formidable foe. They definitely have. But they have a lot of work to do on the side of Kraken Black, and this could be where it starts.
Yeah, and it's always going to be a rough ask to try and reverse sweep, but there's been a lot of, like, throughout the world in all sorts of esports, there have been quite a lot of reverse sweeps that we've been seeing as of late, so it's not out of the question, but it's just not necessarily the way you want to be doing things.
Maybe not, but
Win's a win, but
if it works, why not? Like,
true, win's a win.
What's the old monologue from Vin Diesel and Fast and the Furious? It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile.
Yeah, win's a win.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it puts you into dangerous levels when it comes to your heart rate or blood pressure or whatever. As long as you get the win right. But it is going to be Kraken Black on attack first, and it's looking like it's going to be a quad DPS on the defense here for the side of New Era.
Slim Chip will be my person to keep an eye on.
And it's not just because we really like Ash.
It's not mainly because with a composition like this, that TNT could be extremely valuable, and Lush as well. Lush has already got the frag of the Karu. This is a really rough start for the side of Kraken Black. Despite the small bit of progress, losing a healer basically right after the gates open, that is not what you'd want.
Yeah, we had Lush and Merit on those backlines, just waiting for them to step out even the slightest bit, and then they just dived right onto that backline. Managed to pick up a couple, but they do end up picking one in return. Slipkip does get res, but immediately in the sightlines of Zetzal on this Widowmaker gets cleaned up yet again. Lush again taking down Cairo, but this payload is still moving throughout all of this.
Yes, and that is a big victory for the side of Kraken Black, and it's really sent the opposition into a scramble. New Era can't really get themselves settled. There goes the Dragons try to part the seas. Nanda did claim one, and Merit ejected Quad J, and Nanda gave her the parting gift. And finally, if you were New Era, you'd be breathing a sigh of relief and thinking, thank goodness we can actually stabilize.
Yeah, it was looking alright there for Kraken Black, even though they were losing a few members here and there because they were literally out there spawn. They were able to reinforce very, very quickly and able to keep the fight going at a reasonable pace and keep that payload moving as well. But now that they have been stalled out and now this defense is somewhat set up, they're going to be able to try and just hold them for as long as possible. The EMP does go out, does hit multiple members, and it just forces them back behind those walls, back into safety, as Zetzel does manage to get the first kill. Takes down Lush. That's a very pivotal kill for them to get. Takes out that Sombra, takes out the chance of those hacks, those EMPs, anything of the sort. Really keeps him on the front foot as Zetzel is starting to really pop off and really giving Kraken Black an opportunity to push through this first point.
Got a quick flick onto the Ash of Slim Jim, just said, nah, sorry, you and Bob can't come anymore. And yes, it looks like New Era will be able to reinforce their defense, but and Nanda tried to get the flag, but it was ultimately unsuccessful. Gets a arrow right in the face, and that does not sound all that appealing to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it doesn't feel all that good. Zetzel does manage to take down Lush yet again, as Bob has been thrown in onto the point just to try and stall out for a little bit. Couple of kills back and forth as, yeah, Winston is going to be able to dive onto that backline, but the payload has been stalled out. No one is there as Pulsar does manage to take down Don. Nicely done there. Nanze is trying to stall it out, but gets completely cleaned up. Paso's really going to town with this monkey on the back line. Does manage to get a few more kills for himself. As, this quad DPS is starting to really get torn apart by the very powerful diving of Paso and the long range supporting fire there from Zetzel, who's having an absolute field day with his Widow.
And Zetzel's been one of the highly touted hit scan players, definitely one to keep an eye on. And it really helps when Paso has a ton of opposition in a tight space. He's basically saying to everyone, welcome to my Hall of Pain, you are all welcome invited guests. And looks like Kraken Black and the opposition of New Era wanting to get into it. There goes the Dragon Strike from Jewboy and has eradicated Dawn, and he is now silenced. And despite that reply from Penny, it's really sent the side of New Era into a little bit of panic. And as quickly as I say that there's panic, there is now calm, because the threat essentially got cut out for them.
Yeah, Paso has been one of those big threats on that Winston, just diving onto that back line, making it so that the DPS members just can't really get set up and really threaten anyone on the side of Kraken Black. So once they're able to take care of Paso, a lot more freedom goes into the support line, the DPS members, and they've even switched up their composition. No longer is that quad DPS, because they don't have as much room to work around with, as the Nano Boost does get thrown onto the Winston as he goes forward. Good EMP does manage to hit 5 members, and now this defense is going to start making their way forward. Design is going to be the first one to get dropped down. The fight is going to continue right on the payload. They're trying to make sure it doesn't get too far around the corner where it can be in a real awkward situation. Lush does manage to take down Duboy. That's another very key kill coming in for the Sombra, but Nanda does get cleaned up in return. Just trading kills back and forth as this fight is going to keep on progressing. But the payload has been stalled out for quite a bit here.
That's exactly what you would want as the defenders of the New Era. But now, because of the little bit of the staggered nature of the fact that there is a close spawn for the attackers as opposed to the defenders, things might look a little bit better. There goes the Graviton Surge from Zetzel to follow up from Quad J, not really bearing much fruit. And now we are back into the basically the glue and glass sort of barroom brawl style between these two styles of compositions. There goes the rally, and a big EMP from Lush. It hit flush indeed, and Merit and co for the rest of New Era should be doing their best to capitalize on this. But all the credit to Kraken Black, they are holding extremely strong despite all the nuisances that Lush is presenting.
Yeah, it looked like it was the perfect start to the fight there, with that EMP just hitting the majority of Kraken Black, but they just weren't able to really follow up on it. They just weren't in position to really pick off any more of those key kills, and because of that, this offense of Kraken Black is going to keep on rolling through. They have this payload continuing to make its way towards point B, and it looks like this defense is trying to get set up for one solid defense before it manages to hit that point. They do manage to get there. The Nano does get dropped on, I believe it goes on to Paso. It did, but the Cairo did get taken down throughout all of that.
Wow.
The fight's going to keep on going on as Merit does manage to take down Paso. So there's the front line out of the way. Mech Explosion does get dropped through, trading kills back and forth, but a lot of them is, I say trading kills, but it's just a very blue kill feed here at the moment. They are stopped just before this checkpoint, and it is looking like it's overtime. It's looking like it might just get held just before this point. The Primal Rage does get dropped, but he's not able to get anything out of it. The fight is all over. Zetzel does get killed off before he can get anything done. Well, there's no one else left on the team as they get stalled out just before point B.
Just before the checkpoint, and that is a little bit better for New Era, but still they will have a really rough time if they get stalled out in the opening point, much like Kraken Black did in the opening gambit. But a very valiant effort, considering how insane it was looking at the opening of the second point into the streets phase. Like right out the front of the one of the health packs on the main drag, and then right out front of the takeaway sign. That was looking like a full-blown scrap for
there was
a long period.
Yeah, there was some real drawn-out engagements there, which could have gone either way, really. There was some great ultimate engagements from both sides, but in the end, it was just that last-ditch effort towards the second point, where they were able to get that really essentially pinpoint engagement that they needed for that specific situation, managed to stall them out. And now that's all they need to win this series. New Era just need to make all the way to point two, second point, all the way through the second point, and they will have won this map and this series and book themselves a shot against Emergency in the final tomorrow night.
And I'm really looking forward to whoever gets to face Emergency, because they had a very strong showing earlier this evening with a 3-1 victory over LAX. And well, just for the scoreline's sake, Kraken Black will want to try to get that one in their column to keep this series alive. And looking at their composition, they're really far forward, but they're really keen to get themselves stuck in and basically cut New Order out of their ability to move forward. And Nanda has moved extremely far forward and has called out where basically the entire squad is for the side of Kraken. So despite all this, it's looking like New Era might be in a bit of a rough spot.
Yeah, Nanda does manage to get the kill onto Zetzel, and that does open up quite a few of the sight lines. With Dubois there, there's still a few there that they're going to have to worry about, but with Lush on this bash and they're trying to get set up, they're trying to get into a position where they can just set him on the point and just protect him for the rest of it. They're able to get a whole bunch of kills there with all of this help, with all this assistance, the mercy boosting, Penny with the protection, also with a bit of Baptiste just helping out with all of that healing. They're able to just completely clean through the rest of that defense.
And Lush isn't actually on the point on the cart proper, has decided to change position and really limit the amount of sight lines that the side of Kraken Black could really look through, because looking at how the squads roll out this side of Kraken Black, you only have like 3 avenues, and where Lush is actually positioned has a good eye on pretty much all of them. And there is the configuration tank and the amplification matrix, and there is death, destruction, and mayhem, and thy name is Lush. Kraken just got destroyed. That was unheard of.
Yeah, Zetzel comes around the backside. The summer's like,
guys, what happened?
I swear I left my team there a couple of seconds ago.
No, it's that gif of where he's got the pizza and just comes in and the entire room's on fire.
Oh god, the whole room's on. Essentially, it's essentially a bash and just lit up the entire room. And
I mean, it's working for them. He's supposed to be at the tip of the spear now. They're doing the offensive version of the almost said bunker comp that they were dealing with on the side of Hanamura, and it's still working for them. So why on earth not? There is the Valkyrie from design, and well, Kraken Black, they might not be at their last stand, but this could be one of the last.
Yeah, and they're not even sitting on the payload. As you mentioned earlier, they're not just succumbing to that old school pirate ship. They're just setting up in a position that is very hard to be dealt with. Lush is in a great position, in a better spot to make the most of that amplification matrix, but the rest of the team is doing so much work alongside him as they're able to completely clean up that defense, and Lush is just setting up in the most perfect positions. The team is supporting him in the most perfect of ways, and I don't know if Kraken Black are going to be able to defend themselves here, as here comes the tank. Does manage to pick up one, picks up another. The rest of the team is going to end up falling on the defense, and that looks like it's going to be it. That is going to be the map, the game, the series, and New Era lock themselves in for a shot in the grand final tomorrow night.
And they did it in dominating fashion. Like, I haven't seen an attack on Junkertown go that fluidly, especially with Lush being the tip of the spear, and Lush.
That damage.
He became public enemy number 1 off of the play before the A point was seized by it. That was
ridiculous.
Insane. 33 eliminations, 65% kill participation from Lush there, and I would almost guarantee that was a round for Junkertown, because that is being introduced into many map pools. That will be one that a lot of the teams will be taking note of.
Yeah, and I the more I'm seeing Baptiste in those styles of compositions, the more I'm liking it. So I want to see more as we go on. Maybe see some Baptiste in some other compositions.
You and
But
me both.
we know it definitely works in that when it's able to get set up and really showcase its power.
Yeah,
Whew,
not only
was
for
just
damage output, not only for damage output, but for heals as well, because I believe it doubles the healing output as well through the matrix. So
yeah.
that's that's really
I'm pretty sure in that play of the game we saw a single tank shot just 100 to 0 the mech.
It essentially wiped out
It
one
was a-
shell.
It like literally one shot from onto the diva, 100 0 of that mech. I was like, that's damage.
That is insane, and definitely something that everybody else will be making note of. And well, New Era ushered themselves a spot in the finals with dominant would be one way to put it, especially on the final map there.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, that is essentially it for tonight. So New Era, they have booked themselves in to the final with a 3-0 win over Kraken Black. And earlier tonight, it was Emergency taking the win over, was it LAX1?
Yes,
With a 3-1 victory. So thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Remember that we are on tomorrow night for the grand final of the Rise Up Invitational. It is going to be New Era. It is going to be Emergency. We are on at 7 p.m. Australian Standard. Standard or Australian Eastern Standard?
No, Australian Eastern Standard Time.
I never know with those time zones.
Yeah,
It's just all a
even without
mess.
daylight savings, it's hard to
It
keep up.
just makes it messier. I swear.
But they're all. I think they're all three-letter abbreviations, at least in our
Yeah.
neck of the woods, so it's fine. At any rate, we're gonna shut the curtain on our semi-finals, and we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And Phoenix, do you have any more parting words?
Not really. I'm just really excited to see how both of these teams that we saw tonight just stack up against each other and really end this whole invitational out on a bang. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope we see you all tomorrow night, and good night.
And happy fragging, and be the best hero you can be.